Lennon, picture this, right?
Oh,
I want you to picture this.
okay, I'm picturing.
The year is 2006. You've just come home from school, you turned on your Xbox, and you're launching the Elder Scrolls Oblivion. You're loving life, you're living in that world of Cyrodiil, and then you get this notification, a pop-up, horse armor.
Please, you wanna?
You don't,
please, sir,
you
wanna
don't know
buy
what
some
it
horse
is,
armor?
but it's only 200 marketplace points back then. And you think to yourself, why not? I will get my mum's credit card and pay the $2.50 US and get myself this cool horse armor. Little did you know that purchase would set off a domino effect that we are still experiencing now with microtransactions.
Do you mean to tell me that thanks to Todd Howard, we now have loot boxes and battle passes?
You're goddamn right. I'm telling you, that's what it is.
Well, in today's discussion, David, I wanted to pick your brains about microtransactions because ultimately, are they good? Are they bad? What's the deal with microtransactions? So I just kind of wanted to see where you kind of align with microtransactions because I think some are good. I also think some are fucking predatory and shit. It started off, like you said, with the DLC, the Horse Armor DLC in Elder Scrolls 4. You know, it kind of seemed pretty harmless back then. It seemed revolutionary, to be completely honest, that these companies could add in extra content after the launch of a game. And it makes you think, wow, I wonder if Mass Effect can extend its lifespan and give me all this new story. And then we realize that it's like, okay, well, you know, it's just these expansion packs, and then it evolved to skins, and then it just kept evolving. So I guess let's just talk about it. So right up top, do you think microtransactions are good or bad, David? It's a very nuanced answer, I think.
It's a yes and a no, and I hate that it's a yes and no because I can't take a strong stance saying that no, it's awful. It's there's what some companies push out there is incredibly predatory, especially to a younger audience. But on the flip side of that, yes, it can be good because there have been some games that have been released that release amazing content after the initial stages of the original release. However, I think it's a fine line. And unfortunately, what that fine line is, no one knows exactly. It's not clear anymore. There used to be a clear line. That line's been gone for years now. And one example that I think is the worst kind of, microtransaction that I've, put money into it, and I hate that I've done that, is sports games. When you play, NBA, Madden, FIFA, and you want to play the version of their Ultimate Team, you can buy packs that get you better players, which is this kind of this trading card game thing. And I spent a lot of money on it, and I look back on it now, like, why did I spend so much money on these packs when I don't play these games anymore? Because essentially next year they release a new version of that game, and that account becomes, or that version of that game becomes useless essentially because no one plays it anymore. Flip side of that, some good examples. An example I like to shout out is some free to play games that has a really good solid foundation. Like an example, the Finals. The Finals is a really fun free to play game and has a lot of great destructibility environments that you don't really see a lot in these games, and completely free to play. However, you can buy the battle pass and give money to support the creators and keep that game alive, which I think is a good thing for microtransactions.
Yeah, I think that is really how you position the question, I guess, because asking, do you think microtransactions are good or bad, it's an unfair question, let's face it, because like you kind of outlined with the Finals, it's a free-to-play game, so they live or die based off of the microtransactions that they include in their
engagement.
Game. Exactly, but it's like you also got to make sure that what you are providing is a fair experience. So obviously not to get ourselves in trouble, but also let's face it, who's watching this. But one game that I have played for years, I stopped in 2023, but basically since its release, I played Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes every single day. It's a mobile game for those of you who don't know. It's basically like a squad collector, because I love Star Wars, and I love the Star Wars universe and the characters in it. Who doesn't, right? Fucking losers, that's who. But I think that so I got that game, and I was really surprised with how long that game lasted. I mean, fuck man, it's 10 years old this year. And I thought to myself, when playing it at first, I was collecting heroes, and there were microtransactions in that game, but I didn't really pay too much attention to it because reasonably enough, it was free to play. But after enough time, it fucking crams all of these little packs down your throat that it's like, hey, you know, you can get this really good deal of XYZ gear if you pay like $9.99 or whatever. And I find with mobile game microtransactions is just the worst, because I think that a lot of the time they're actually egregiously, oh my God, that was—
You guys have phones.
You guys have phones, right? But I think that sometimes they can be good, but for the most part, a lot of the deals are actually quite shit, what you're having to pay for. And I'm like, how do they keep getting away with this? And I would say eventually at one point in the game, I think it was in 2019, they introduced this pack in Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, when they introduced or maybe it's 2020 during COVID, but basically it was this pack where it was 15 Australian dollars. And it came out once per week, and it was for relic gear, which is basically like your end game gear. And it was genuinely for that. I guess it's all relative, right? I thought it was actually a really good deal, because to be able to keep competitive at the top end of the game, it gave me a really good boost once per week, and I was maxing out a lot of characters. But then I took a step back in 2023, and I realized that I had been buying that $15 pack once per week, every week, for the most part 3+ years. And I was just like, holy fuck, I've spent so much money, and I just felt bad. And I deleted the game, and I tried getting back into it, and I just can't, because it's just given me that icky kind of experience. So that would be a bad example, a really bad example of microtransactions.
I just did the math on that, by the way.
Oh, do I want to know?
Yeah, well, you know, for conversation, so $15 a week for 3 years, so $15 a week for a year is $780.
Oh.
Times that by 3 is $2,340.
Oh my fucking God. That could solve all my car issues that I'm having at the moment, Dave. What the fuck?
Your aircon right there fixed. The mechanic laughing, rich.
All the way to the bank. Oh,
all the way to the bank.
But yeah, so obviously I knew what I was doing, but I didn't realize how bad it was. And I think that a lot of people can probably empathize with that. From what I hear, especially with like the FIFA games or the football club managers or whatever, there's a lot of microtransactions with EA Sports games where it's just like, I don't know, you're someone who plays a metric fuck ton of those games. Like, how bad is it in those games?
Yeah, it's pretty, the way they design the Ultimate Team system is that it pretty much forces you to spend a little money so you can buy that special pack, just so you can keep up with the competitive size of Ultimate Team. And because you got, you know, coins, which is the in-game currency, and then you got FIFA points, which is real world money that you spend. And each time you win a game, the more you win, the more coins you get.
Yeah.
However, they make the packs so unbelievably like expensive, because they release these what a lot of FIFA players know as Team of the Year cards or Team of the Season cards, where essentially they got the best players who are locked in these packs that are like 99 overall, that could sell for millions of dollars. However, if you want to get that pack, you can spend like 100,000 or 250,000 FIFA coins, like a ridiculous amount of FIFA coins, which would take you an absolute grind to get that accumulation of coins. Or you can spend, I think, $50 to $40 to get the points, equivalent enough to just buy one of the packs. Or two of the packs. Yeah, so it's a very predatory way, because they incentivize you to buy the packs so you get the better players. However, they do this thing which always is the predatory side of it. They go, you can buy 500 FIFA points for this amount, or you can buy 1,500 FIFA points or 2,000 FIFA points and get an additional 500 points if you spend $30. Stuff like that, you know. They don't always sell enough points. They always sell just a little bit less, just so you can buy the more expensive version to get the bonus ones.
Well, yeah, that's fucked. Look, we've obviously gone through an example each of, I guess, poor microtransactions, but let's actually zoom back out and talk about microtransactions as a whole. because, you know, there are different types of microtransactions, and you kind of covered it before. You know, you got your cosmetic.
It has evolved over years. It has massively evolved and changed over years.
Yeah, and I kind of want to get into the weeds of that because, you know, you've got your cosmetic only, then, you know, you've got gameplay shortcuts and convenience, Assassin's Creed RPGs. I'm looking at you. You know, you've got pay to win, so direct stat boosts, and, you know, I feel like that is an example that a lot of people use, but off the dome, I can't think of too many like pay to win models outside of potentially like loot boxes and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, loot boxes and randomized rewards, that's like a whole other category of beast on its own. And then you've got your battle passes. So obviously some in that category are better or worse than each other. But to be completely honest, I think the way that it has evolved, the two categories that I care about is DLC versus microtransactions. Now, technically, I would say microtransactions are all DLC, basically. But for me, I view DLC as like the traditional DLC that adds substantial content like campaigns, maps, expansions, so on. And historically, I feel like DLC felt more like a continuation of the game. Whether it's like Call of Duty map packs, you would get like one map pack and it had 4 maps, and then maybe a little bit of like an extra Spec Ops mission, stuff like that. And it's like you pay $15, boom, done. You've got value there. But over time, the way that that content was delivered to us needed to evolve to stay competitive, or at least that's what a company would probably argue. But I would say that the main issue is with the evolution of microtransactions and DLC. So we started off with map packs and story content. Then it went to, hey, here's some extra stuff that we're adding into the game, extra weapon skins, cosmetics, stuff like that. You don't have to pay for it, but it is there. And then I think it was loot boxes and it got a bit experimental, but where we're currently sitting, I would say for the most part, yes, we're in a battle pass environment, but I feel like for the past, I want to say 5-ish years, we've seen a lot of games start to intentionally frustrate players into spending, and it exploits psychological vulnerabilities. It blurs the line between playtime and compulsion, and this idea of let's just make progress ever so slightly slower, like slow where they're still feeling like they're getting progression, you know, whether it's like playing Destiny or something like that, trying to level up, or just anything like that. Keeping it slow to the point where if someone just spends like $1 or like, you know, a couple of dollars, then they instantly void that grind, that timer, I guess. So I feel like that's where we're currently existing, which is, it's just so frustrating because once that genie's out of the bottle, how do you put it back in? Unless where do you draw the line?
Yeah. Where do you draw the line on what's acceptable or not? Because like I said, that line is so far gone. And an example, you could buy the Call of Duty Battle Pass or the Fortnite Battle Pass, and then you can just spend more money to do the skips of the whole Battle Pass and then just unlock the Battle Pass at the start.
Yeah. And using that example that you just brought up, that's where it gets complicated, because I would say, as someone who doesn't feel the need to buy a battle pass in Call of Duty, you know, when the Modern Warfare reboot or whatever came out in 2019, I actually liked that the battle pass system came out because as someone who wasn't spending money necessarily, I didn't feel the need to buy that battle pass, but I could still earn some rewards. It kept me playing, it kept me coming back, and I knew that people out there were buying it. And the reason why I didn't personally have a problem with it is because I thought, okay, this is their way of trying to release new maps on a regular basis for the people, and this is great because we're all going to get these maps for free, which means that everyone has the access to the exact same content. It's just some
no more season passes.
Yeah, no more season passes. This is revolutionary. This is a step in the right direction. But then the additional cosmetic packs and all these other cosmetic packs were getting crammed down your throat. You've got your tracer rounds, you've got all these different things, dress up like Santa and like all this different shit. And it's just like, holy fuck, when does it stop? And it gets to the point where it's a bit egregious, and it's like, how much money does one company need? I understand making profit, but it just feels a bit disgusting at this point. So I do think that you can go too far with microtransactions as well.
I just remember, I think I recently played Call of Duty, and all I wanted to do was just play a couple rounds, but it took me 45 seconds to a minute just to get through the ads they just jam down your throat about, oh, we released this new cosmetic pack. You can play as Chucky, you can play as, you know, Beavis and Butthead. And I'm just like, I don't care.
Yeah. And it's tough too because, you've got free-to-play games out there, and I feel like there's just more and more free-to-play experiences, which obviously that's fucking great for me because I don't have to buy the game up front. That is awesome. But because there's so many of them, I almost feel like that in itself almost raises the price of, or how aggressive microtransactions are in video games now as well, because it's like, well, there's like Marvel Rivals, Fortnite, like all these different experiences out there that people are going to be playing. We really need to try and up the ante with getting enough money to keep the lights on in our studio. And that can't be good either. So I'm definitely not complaining about there being free-to-play games because I like the free-to-play model. I think it's really cool that if you don't have the money to buy a game, and with the price of everything going up, especially video games going from $60 to $70 or $80, I think it's awesome that there are people out there who can play these games for free. But because there are so many different free-to-play games now, I wonder if that's also causing an issue in and of itself when it comes to microtransactions. What do you think?
Yeah, it's tough because I don't know if there's enough data that we could obviously suggest to see, like, maybe there is I don't know, like a bidding.
Oh, of course, it's more like a hypothetical, I guess.
Like a hypothetical, because you've got some really fantastic free to play games. Like, say what you will, Fortnite's still one of the top ones.
It's still on top, baby, somehow.
The finals, Overwatch 2, you can throw that in there as one of the big ones as well, because that's now onto a free to play model, which you can argue how they've done that. I feel like it is getting more aggressive because maybe companies are starting to see that there's so many free-to-play games out there that maybe they have to try and push this model a bit more down our throats to try and keep afloat. However, the flip side of that is it depends on the game itself. If you generally have a great game with a solid foundation, with a great player base and a great community, people are going to come back to it regardless of what model it is. An example, Team Fortress 2, that game is free to play and it has a hat economy. An example, when people spend ridiculous amount of money in hats, but you don't have to spend money to get the hats. You can still play an amazing first-person team hero shooter that's Valve's created. So I hope it doesn't get to that point. I really hope so, but at the same time, with how microtransaction has evolved from tiny horse armor to then DLC packs to then season passes, then to loot boxes, to now battle passes. Who knows when the next 5 years is going to show with microtransactions or how it's going to evolve.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's kind of like the slippery slope argument, isn't it? Like once, monetization systems exist, then there's pressure to just push them further. So if there's, say, a battle pass that's implemented somehow, the first iteration of a battle pass is probably going to be incredibly pro-consumer. And then over time, as companies tweak their battle pass and all that, they're going to try and tweak it to optimize the value that they can extract from the customer. With that being said, even harmless systems can evolve into predatory ones over time. It's just kind of the nature
100%.
of things. And the trust erodes, I guess, when players feel like test subjects for monetization experiments. So it's just a little bit frustrating, I think, being on the receiving end of it, because I feel like there probably was a point in time where expansions and DLC probably felt like, oh wow, like we're getting so much extra shit, this is awesome. And then it just hit a point where it's like, okay, this is too much now. Can we stop? Can we go back? Can we go back? So I think, but that could also be subjective for me and my personal experience as well. But I'm just really curious as to where it's all going to end, because I think that monetization or microtransactions will continue to evolve. Companies, especially how expensive games are to make these days. Games take longer to make, it's more expensive to make, it's more expensive to hire people. The cost of everything is just going up. Over time, companies, fortunately, need to get really creative with how they monetize their customers and how they extract as much value from their customers, because there's more people making games than ever, which means that it's an incredibly competitive landscape.
Not unless you work under Microsoft.
Oh, exactly right. Because they do fucking nothing with their games. But anyway, our mantra is let's not make games and let's fire people. But it's Anyway, so it can be a bit of a depressing topic. I understand that. It's probably been a bit of a depressing episode. I don't know. But Christmas episode. Woo! Let's talk about how expensive everything is. But the debate really isn't whether microtransactions are good or bad. I think that it's whether games are being designed for enjoyment first and monetization first. And I think that if a game is made to just be a really good game, and there's DLC or microtransactions built around it, not with, the game being developed with microtransactions in mind, then I think that as long as it's 100% optional and I get a full experience, then I'm happy. Do whatever you want with microtransactions, because there are going to be whales out there who will just eat it all up. But if that's like the central focus of your game is to monetize as much as possible, then it just gives me an icky feeling. Yeah, well, it just, players of video games, if they have the money, they don't hate paying, they just hate feeling manipulated. So I don't know whether tighter regulation is going to happen in the future. Kind of like what happened in some regions with loot boxes, or if companies will find a new grift like NFTs and then just abandon it immediately. I don't know what the future of microtransactions will look like, or even if it will still remain to be called microtransactions. But I guess before we close out this discussion, David, do you have any final thoughts on the topic?
Yeah, I have to agree with you. It comes down to the game and the developers. If you design a game that's truly meant to be for the players, pro-consumer, you got a great foundation, a great community, people will come and play your game, and they will support you by paying for a battle pass or paying for that microtransaction or that DLC pack. However, if you do design your game and it's just completely like a predatory system where it's just designed to waste your time with time restrictions and pay to win schemes like that, I feel like ethically there should be restrictions on that, because young minds can get influenced very easy around that, and who knows what's the domino effect on how that could be down the line. So I don't think microtransactions will go anywhere soon. I still think they will continue to evolve to what that next iteration is. I guess we'll see in the next 5 years, because we've gone to horse armor, to packs, to season passes, to loot boxes, and now to this battle pass. So we'll see where it goes down the line. But I do hope it moves into a more of a positive pro-consumer choice instead of a predatory consumer.
I agree, my friend.
I
agree, my friend, and I couldn't have put it better myself.
Hey, would you look at that? You've made it through the entirety of this episode. Congratulations. This video is just one section of our weekly gaming podcast called Last Week in Gaming Today. If you're interested in checking out the full episode or more discussions like the one you've just watched, I'll leave a link to the podcast in the description and comment section below.